All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Thrilling 30 Autobot Whirl, a pretty cool figure from the Thrilling 30 line. And yeah, no, he's a lot of fun. I definitely like this figure a lot. I feel like he got a lot of flack at the time that he came out, just because the IDW version of Whirl was like really popular at the time, so people wanted something that was a little bit more accurate to that version of the character, especially since we had been getting like other generations figures around that time that were a little bit more inspired by the Thrilling 30 designs. And he's not like he's somewhat IDW inspired. He's kind of like a weird fusion between IDW and G1. So I get the complaint that he's not really like far enough in the direction of either one to be satisfying to those fans, but personally, I like him a lot. I think he's a really cool figure. But yeah, he's got a nice helicopter mode here. He's got, the spinning rotors on the front and back that work pretty decently well. He's got his little, skids here for the landing gear. He does have an opening cockpit, which is pretty cool to see. You can't really fit anything in there, but he's got a nice, like, detailed interior cockpit section there. Obviously, this kind of runs into the rotors, but I guess that is how it would work on a helicopter like this. I don't know. Obviously, they're not opening up while the rotors are running, so whatever. But yeah, no, I like the helicopter mode. Obviously, these sections right here are his robot mode thighs, which is a little bit obvious, but it doesn't really bug me all that much. I feel like it, blends in fairly well. He comes with a bunch of different weapons here that both use 5mm pegs and also the 3mm clip system that they were using at the time. So he's got quite a few clip points. He's got clip points here and here. I think technically these are clip points as well, although if you really keep clipping them onto there, I'm assuming it would kind of scratch off the paint over time. So I generally avoid clipping things onto there, aside from the sake of the video, but technically they are clip point systems. Also, I don't want those sections to break, whereas they don't, they're kind of made out of a different plastic than these are, which feel a lot more just like a sturdy regular connection that doesn't feel prone to breaking. And they're also smaller sections in on the body, so and he's also got these weird sort of I don't know why they didn't just do a clip like these up here on top, but these ones, to make it go sideways, it has this different orientation to it, which is a little bit wider, which is a little strange. But you can also just use the 5mm pegs and call it a day. So yeah, with all the clips and stuff, you can store all of this stuff on here. He comes with this missile pod gun here. This one, which is definitely my least favorite thing that he comes with, because it's just like a couple missile pods, but it's, I don't know, it's just not as, clean looking as the rest of it. This bit, which is supposed to be like his, hand cannon in robot mode, and then this Gatling gun type thing. Generally, I usually take these two and just put them on the box and leave him with just these things, just because I feel like that's the, cleanest thing, with just these connected onto his helicopter mode. I think that looks decent, whereas you add too much more of that and it just looks a little bit too cluttered. Now there are also pegs, and do any of them have, I guess none of them do have ports on the things themselves, but some of them do have the clip points as well, so you can attach some of these on there. Let's see, that one is two. Yeah, no, I guess that kind of works, even though it's not really using the full connection there. I guess what you're supposed to do, because not all of them have like things like this that's wide enough to house the wider clip point thing. So you could do something like that, and then how does that attach on? I guess you would attach on like that, but then it kind of yeah, I guess it doesn't quite bump into the routers. Anyway, it's a little bit clumsy in my opinion. Yeah, no, because you'd want it to be like that. Let's see, can we get it at yeah, no, this one doesn't have a clip point. Okay. So we can probably get one down here and then get this one up here so it doesn't bump in. So you can store all of it. I just think it looks a little bit ridiculous. Personally, I just prefer keeping two of the weapons on there just to keep it a little bit cleaner. But yeah, it's a fun system to play with. It just can be a little bit limiting at times, but it works well enough. It's neat that he does come with all these weapons. I just, they're a little bit hard to work with sometimes, but they've got a versatility to them. It's just a little bit specific. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. Obviously, still quite a bit too small there to scale with a car, but that's, just usually going to be the case with like helicopter figures. For another helicopter comparison, here he is with Siege Spinister, especially since the two of them actually are kind of the same type of helicopter. Obviously, he's a bit bigger, being a Voyager versus the Siege one, which is a deluxe, but that's what the two of them look like together. But yeah, to get on to transformation, he's got a lot of neat tricks going on. First thing you want to do is take these sections here and just swing these out to the side, because this tab here on the elbow actually plugs into this bit on the leg. So you just do that on both sides, and then that frees up the legs here, which you can actually bring down. Now, he does actually have like a weird sort of tertiary mode that has a dedicated joint. Like, he's got a specific Gerwalk mode designed into the figure. So we'll just continue on with the leg transformation. But basically, you fold the legs around like this. Then you want to take this blue section and unclip it, which will then unlock this whole section so it can slide down, and then you can bring this the rest of the way, and it will clip into the bottom of the leg to form his feet there, which is kind of a neat mechanism. And then he does have like a double hinge thing here. This one is really tight. This one is not. So if you want to just keep it like that with backwards knees, you can do that. I find that, a lot of people have reported these breaking. I find that if you just put specific pressure on it like that, like, you're not really risking that piece all that much, because like a lot of the the like pressure is actually being taken on these pieces, and then you can kind of fold it down like that, and that's about as far as I go with those. But yeah, you just want to do the legs like that, and then for the arms, you'll untab them from the body, and they'll come out on these like armature bits here, which for the main robot mode will sink into the body, but for the Gerwalk mode, you do leave out to the side. And then you can rotate the arms forward, and then he's got like a geared claw here where if you open up one side, it will flip out the other side as well, which is kind of neat. You just bring it on like that. And then for the dedicated joint for the Gerwalk mode is he actually has a slider here that can take his entire waist section and just slide back like that. And I forget if you're supposed to do anything specific with this. I think this does fold down so that this slot here goes into that tab, which again is also dedicated for this mode. But yeah, there you have a Gerwalk helicopter mode, which is it's a strange thing for them to specifically include for this figure, but it is kind of a neat mode. I don't ever really go here because I feel like in the lore of Transformers, it doesn't really make a ton of sense for him to even have this mode, because if he wants to be a walking helicopter, why wouldn't he just transform fully to robot mode? But it's a neat thing if you're wanting to kind of homage the original toy a little bit more. But to continue on to the rest of robot mode, we'll just kind of go back to where we were in the transformation, bring that back up, slide the waist back down, just like that. Then you want to take the propellers here, and they will unclip from each other and just rotate around like that and tab into place like that. Then you do want to unlock this section and then take this entire back fuselage engine section, whatever you'd call it, and it splits. Again, this is also geared. It's actually a little bit annoying that this is geared because I don't know, moving them in tandem is more trouble than it's worth. You probably should just have it so that these kind of move separately, but it's not too big a deal. But yeah, once you've done that, that kind of frees up the head here, so you can take this whole section and bring it down like this, and then you can take this back section and it will come back up and double hinge and sit inside the backpack here like this. And then you can take these sections here, and he's got these weird sort of shaped tail fins, and the reason that they're shaped like that is because they correspond to these slots on the, it's gonna be impossible to show, but on the inside of these sections, so you can tab that whole section together. And then just to clean it up a little bit more, you take the the rotors here and rotate them down so it sits like that, which is a really, really neat thing. I honestly wish it would be so clean and would just be the perfect chef's kiss moment if these also tabbed in back here to keep them from wobbling around, but it doesn't. And you could leave the robot mode just like that if you want. And I see a lot of people do that, and it always kind of drives me a little bit nuts because there are extra transformation steps to this guy, because these ball joints that these armature sections are, they weren't always this loose, but they are pretty floppy loose now. But what you're supposed to do with these is, it had probably a reason that they've loosened up, honestly, but it has this neat thing that I have not seen on any other kind of figure, where he's got this ball joint here, but then what you're supposed to do is actually take this joint and compress it into the body like that, and it like relocks itself further in on both sides, which just brings the shoulders closer to the body and gives him a much more like proportionate looking robot mode. And then the head here, again, you know, if you want it to be a little bit more G1, you could leave it down like this. But if you want it to be a little bit more IDW, he does have this like double hinge section, so you can kind of bring the head up like that so it sticks a little bit further up on this like, you know, creepy neck stock. And that's how you're supposed to kind of have the figure displayed, with both of those things done. And with that, I think he looks pretty cool. Like I said, he's definitely an amalgamation between, you know, like the G1 toy design and also the, you know, IDW design. Like the, you know, whole chicken leg thing is thing from the IDW design. The claw hands, I think he just had one claw hand on his original toy, and then he had the gun for the other hand. I don't totally know, but the shape of the head is definitely a little bit IDW inspired, but obviously, you know, he's got like the downward facing cockpit rather than the one that sticks straight out, which is more along the lines of the G1 toy. But yeah, no, I like him. I feel like he's a fun sort of amalgamation of those two designs. And once you have like the shoulders kind of like locked into place, he is actually a pretty sturdy figure. It does limit the shoulder articulation a little bit, but you know, it's still pretty good in my opinion. But yeah, in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so it can rotate around like that, and then obviously you can use this neck joint to kind of fold in and out. He also has this neat feature where, let's see if I can show this off. So he's got light piping, right, which you can kind of see there, but then if you take his little antenna here and fold it down, it actually like closes off the light piping, so you can make him sort of like blink, kind of. See if I can get that on camera and actually show it happening here. Yeah. So I don't know why they bothered engineering that in, but it's kind of a neat feature, and it's not really like super obtrusive to the figure or anything like that, so it doesn't cause any problems. It's just a little bit unnecessary, but it is neat. The shoulders, when you have them fully locked into place here, are a little bit weird. He kind of has the whole like, you know, swivel at the shoulder, hinge at the body thing going on, where like you can rotate his arm forward, but then you can't rotate it out to the side, which is like, you know, kind of the incorrect hinge joint setup there. But because this piece was like attached with a ball joint, you can kind of finagle it to like move around. Granted, he also kind of can't move his arm out to the side once it's out to the back, but that's more to do with the fact that his shoulder is just bumping into the backpack. But technically you can arrange the joints so they sit in that way. It's just a little bit of a pain because you have to kind of like grab this armature bit or like, you know, pull it back out, rotate it, and then push it back in, which is a little bit weird, but you know, it's not quite as limiting as these types of shoulders usually are. But yeah, you can hinge his arm out to the side and then rotate it around 360 degrees, either, you know, on the internal joint or just on the swivel attached to the arm. He's got a bicep swivel. For transformation, he's got a full deep elbow bend. You can open and close the claws, and I do really appreciate that these are geared, because I feel like it would be really like just easy to kind of bump these out of line, and it's just very satisfying to have him kind of have the whole grabby claw thing going on there. Nothing at the waist, just because of how it all folds up for transformation. Hips can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got a thigh swivel. Weirdly, he's got like the, you know, the like hollow bits of the legs on the outside of the joint, which is mostly, I think, so it can sit with these bits being up top on in vehicle mode. But I don't know, it's a little bit strange. It would be kind of a pain to switch those around just to swap those joints, because you'd have to like undo either this or that pin, because otherwise the legs would also be on the wrong side. You can, if you want, like if you like the G1 design more, you can flip the legs around and then like, I don't know, compress this this knee joint back up, so he's got more sort of like traditional forward facing knees, but his legs do have to be a little bit bent for him to stand up straight, just because of how the shape of the legs are. And then also he does have a slight like A stance sculpted into his feet, which is now backwards. So yeah, you can do that if you want. I think it looks a little bit strange, but you know, he's always kind of like been a strange looking robot anyway, so it's not the end of the world. But personally, I prefer to, you know, leave it with the chicken legs, just because that's kind of how it more cleanly stands in robot mode. But yeah, he's got the two knee joints there. This one doesn't get like a ton of range. Like I think it can come back maybe one more click, but it's so tight that I don't really bother doing it. I pretty much just use this joint and then just have it like act as a normal knee joint, but in reverse, in which case it gets about that, you know, that much bend there, which is, still a little bit weird to like get poses with him, but I feel like it's always a little bit unnatural doing poses with like the chicken leg figures, just because our legs don't work that way, so we don't really think in terms of like him getting closer to the ground by bending his knees backwards, but whatever. And then, like I said, nothing really at the ankles. You can kind of unclick this, and then you could sort of like adjust that in such a way that it kind of cheats a backwards ankle tilt, but these blue pieces aren't really strong enough to support that, unfortunately. But yeah, so, decent-ish articulation, a little bit weird in the shoulders, a little bit weird in the knees, but otherwise I feel like he works fairly well. Obviously, we can bring back all of his weapons on here, and you can plug them on in a variety of different places. I like having them kind of like underslung underneath his arms. Again, with the ones that I keep on him, I just kind of like leave them down like that. I actually take this one and plug it in like this, so it's like, oh, when he's not using it, it's folded up like that. And when he is using it, it's folded down, so it's kind of like an underslung thing where it kind of looks like he's actually like holding something here to operate it. But you can also flip in the claws on either hand and take this bit, and it will just plug in here. Does it go this way, or yeah, I think it goes this way. Yeah, so it goes this way, so it kind of sits over this tab here, which it has on both sides, so you can do it on either arm. But you can give him his gun arm there from G1, which is a pretty cool look. And then other than that, I mean, these just kind of clip on wherever. A few of the clip points are no longer accessible. Like, you can use the ones underneath the arms, but the ones like that were attached to the side, these ones are really not usable anymore because they're underneath his feet. So then the only other place to really tab them on is the landing bars here, which again is not a place that I particularly like clipping the weapons on and off of, but you can keep them there. So like I said, he really only has the storage for like 2 of them, unless you just leave this one on his arm. But then even then, it kind of like blocks off some of the other ones. Like, I guess you could take this one and plug it on like that, but then, it can't really deploy in any meaningful way. So personally, I prefer both claws being out. So I just take these 2 and put them in a box, and then leave him with the missile pod and the Gatling gun and call it a day. But it's got a bit of versatility there. So to each their own, however you want to do that. Again, I feel a little bit uncomfortable with like constantly clipping things on and off of these bits because the paint will wear down eventually. But yeah, no, he's a fun figure. I guess the other thing worth mentioning about him is he was one of the ones that came with a sticker sheet at the time, so he had some like optional things. I didn't put most of the stickers on here. There's a lot of like helicopter, just like detail-y things that I decided not to put on, but he's got a few Autobot symbols on here. I'm pretty sure he might have come with like a wrecker symbol that I didn't decide to use. This one is actually like pasted on underneath the windshield, which is kind of cool. The ones that I think are kind of bad are he came with these like strips to give him the yellow stripe or the red stripes over the yellow rotors, and they just like wrap around. And I find that those have a tendency to kind of peel off a little bit, but honestly, they're pretty decent. Like, they haven't really had too many issues. But yeah, it's got them both here and on the back ones as well, which are pretty small pieces. But yeah, so pretty fun figure overall. In terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Sideswipe, just so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe. And then for an average Voyager class comparison, here he is with Earthrise Optimus Prime. So you can see they're pretty much the same height there. And then for posterity's sake, here he is again with Spinister, obviously very different robot mode designs there, but that's what the 2 of them look like together. And yeah, no, he's a pretty fun figure. I like this guy a lot. I feel like I said, he got a lot of flack at the time for being like not quite G1 and not quite IDW, and it really doesn't bug me all that much. Like, I like the IDW character, but I do generally prefer things kind of G1 styled, and he is not fully G1, but since he wasn't a character in the show, it doesn't really bother me that he's not like fully accurate to the G1 toy. So yeah, I like this guy a lot. If they never made another Whirl again, I think I'd be satisfied. But personally, I don't know. We are still kind of due for an update of Whirl and Roadbuster, since these guys came out in Thrilling 30, which is an actual decade ago now. So I think that they could do like a more like G1 styled Whirl. I don't know if there's like weird sort of like trademark issues like there is for like, doing like a like G1 toy version of Jetfire, because I'm pretty sure these guys were also from Macross or from the same company at least, because like he does the whole Gerwalk. I don't know. I don't know the full story behind the G1 Whirl and Roadbuster toys. I just know that there were ones that were not allowed to be in the cartoon because of like, their relevant sort of like Japanese toy line still being in production and not being owned by Takara. But either way, it would be cool to get a more G1 styled Whirl with like the ski feet or whatever. But honestly, this guy gets most of the way there, and I like him quite a bit. And I do think that his transformation is like neat and interesting. So I've never totally understood why he's gotten like all the flack that he has. But yeah, no, he's a pretty fun toy. But that's pretty much all there is to it. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Thrilling 30 Voyager class Whirl.